Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to The Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We're already getting the day started right with some really great news from John Parker in the chat. John Parker, very good news to hear. I see you're getting some congratulations in the chat. I do know there's a road ahead, but good news there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being in here. Thank you for hitting the like button. Speaking of like, let's see how we did yesterday on the recap screen. I like seeing all of these green check marks. We go 10-5 overall. Danny Brasco 3 for 3. I go 2 for 2. I've won 11 out of my last 13, folks. NFL bets. Will Brinson split. Sniper split. Mike McClure hitting that first quarter bet. I wonder if we have a first quarter bet today, ladies and gentlemen. We have a packed show. So I think we need to get right to it on Big Pick Energy Friday. Here we go.
Let's go!
Oh, the dichotomy between Mike McClure and Chip Patterson on the bottom. Then, of course, Danny Brasco and Buckets at the top. Gentlemen, I'd like to say hi to you, Danny. I'd like to say hi to you, Buckets and Mike McClure. But everybody in the chat and me needs a chip me up.
Good morning, Sia. Good morning, Buckets. Good morning, Danny. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Early Edge fam. Coming to you from the outer bands of an actual hurricane. Helene right out the window. And you know what I've got my eye on? It ain't on the radar. It's on some winners for Friday night. So let's go.
Wow. That was so. Yeah, you got a hurricane. You know what's interesting about that, Chip and Mike? I want to go to you real quick because we've got Saturday college football, we've got NFL football, and you know part of the reason you're going to see a pick from me later on in the show. Part of the reason I don't have an NFL prop, I'm not fully prepared on how the weather might impact games I like the Carolina game. And Mike, I'm not asking you to give a full weather report for a Sunday day of football, but we do need to kind of wait and see when we're making some of these bets how the weather is going to impact some of these games, right?
Yeah, I think the combination in a couple games between weather and injury, and there's certain teams that have style of plays, you know, talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and Tampa, if there's still lingering rain there, definitely has an impact. So still a little early to really even make accurate forecasts. I know we like to jump on it early, but yeah, I think this is more of a Sunday morning kind of check the weather at that point.
Yeah, at least on the East Coast. Go ahead, Chip.
Well, I was going to say, you know, there was an assumption early in the week that this hurricane was going to mess up Alabama, Georgia. You see that total drop down to like 48.5. Aren't we back up to like 50.5 at this point? You know, see, I mean, you're just kind of playing with something where you got to wait until if you actually want to make a wager based on the weather, you can't try to get ahead of it. It's meteorology. I mean, you know, like you might as well be a sports handicapper. Come on.
Or Chip Patterson, an interception prop handicapper, because Buckets has done it again. I don't think Buckets people appreciate, and I'm not even sure you appreciate what is happening here. Again, I feel like I'm going to get this stat wrong, but you're either 11-1 or 12-1 on this young NFL season with interception props. In any regard, whether you were an expert in this or not, that would be pretty amazing. Hashtag I've gone 11 out of my last 13. But either way, yeah, well, your response, sir, this is actually amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's also super frustrating when I'm 12-1 on a sport that I don't watch and don't care about, and then I painstakingly find these third division soccer plays just to get a red card in the first 5 minutes or whatever. But I will say, Sia, this shows just how little I know. I thought that already cashed. He threw an interception in the first half that I guess there was a flag at the same time, but I thought it still counted. So I stopped watching. I went outside. I just didn't care anymore. And then an hour later, people are tweeting me, "Holy shit, Buckets in the last play of the game." And I'm like, dude, we hit that an hour ago. But I guess we didn't, and it still cashed in the end. So it's fun, man. I'm just enjoying myself. I still have no idea what's going on, though.
All right, well, we got to get to some picks. Brasco, I do want to ask you one thing, because pre-show, let's spend like 30 seconds on this. You were talking to Mike McClure about a Braves to miss the playoffs prop that you put in, I believe, at plus 440, now down to plus 140. Just tell it, because I know there's people in the chat that might be on this as well, because Mike McClure gave it out some time ago. What are you on exactly?
Yeah, all credit to M2 here. He gave it out on, I think, about a month ago. I had the ticket on July 26th, and his take was awesome. It was a wild card race between about 5 teams at the time that were separated by about 3 games. and it's the Braves to miss the playoffs. Mike, you got it at what, plus 480 or plus 440? I got a couple tickets in that range that I sprinkled on. And all of a sudden, it's a race between the D-backs, the Mets, and the Braves. If the D-backs can stave them off, all of a sudden, they're the team I'm worried about. We have a huge doubleheader on Friday between the Mets and the Braves. I mean, Mike, take it away. I've been thrilled watching this end of the season race.
Yeah, it's when you look at the Braves here, it's the reason why we kind of liked it is we looked at the schedule and saw Kansas City was very likely to be in their own wild card race. So these are games that are just extremely competitive and meaningful on both sides. So when you look at the Braves, every single game that they have left, which they're going to have to play a doubleheader on Monday, it looks like, and then turn around and play Tuesday in a wild card series. So I love this particular bet still. Kansas City's still fighting for their playoff life, and they play in Atlanta, 3-game series against Atlanta. This Braves team, man, they're in a rough spot, even if they do make it. But yeah, still all systems go. I actually don't mind buying in on it now at plus 145 still, if you want some extra sweat.
Love that. All right, let's talk about sweats for Friday night. Chip Patterson, someone in the chat looks like TN Tiger Grad says Canes should absolutely dog walk Virginia Tech. That phrase is always very funny to me. You have a Friday pick, and then we're going to wait because you're going to give some Saturday picks out later. Let's start with Friday.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing rocking and rolling with the one thing that I feel like is not the W word yet, that rhymes with dragon. Not the W word yet. But Cam Ward and this Miami offense are absolutely terrific. I mean, he is a difference maker that has elevated their ceiling in a way that is maybe more unique than any one player from the transfer portal to any one team in all of college football. And I was, on that under 65.5 last week. And buddy, Miami almost hit that themselves. So I'm off. Okay. I think Miami's pretty good defensively, especially with that defensive line. But this is the thing that we trust. We trust Cam Ward. We trust Miami's offense. And we know that this Virginia Tech defense has been porous. They brought back a ton of experience, a ton of production, and they have underperformed. A really bad look for this Virginia Tech defensive coaching staff. And I think that Miami's offense is just going to continue to hum. So I don't want to have to wonder whether or not this Virginia Tech offense is going to show up or just lay a total egg. Either one could be there. But the one thing that we can trust right now with the U is that they're going to put up points. So we're going Miami team total over 35.5.
And I just want to mention and remind everybody that is interested in college football picks, and you're going to hear some more on this show. The college football preview is out. I think that you all do that every Tuesday, I believe, and then we have the NFL preview Wednesday. Every Wednesday, and then the NFL preview on Thursday. You got to watch either live or listen to those shows in your podcast feed or on YouTube because it's such a great start to the college and or NFL week. All right, let's turn the page. Buckets, I'm looking at your picks. I'm mad at you again because pretty sure those are not actual words. You have 2 picks on the pitch. What are they?
Before we get into the 2, real quick question for you, Chip. Which team did you refer to as the Canes?
Miami Hurricanes.
That's Miami. Okay, I'm going to endorse that pick then because as someone who eats canes 6 times a week here in Columbus, I just got to say, Chip, phenomenal. Love everything about that play. Let's get into some footy and let's talk about...
It's no pressure at all.
I haven't slept in like a month. It's fine. Let's talk about Spiel an Sportverein Ulm taking on Eintracht Braunschweig in the Schwein Bundesliga here. Sia, let's have some fun with this one, baby, because if you look at the next match day of the second Bundesliga, I went and checked every single game. The average odds for both teams to score is minus 181 across all these games. If you look at Ulm versus Eintracht Braunschweig this afternoon, minus 135. We never see this number in the second Bundesliga. This number does not exist, but it does because Ulm is newly promoted and Braunschweig is just playing horrendous football right now. However, they're playing horrendous defensive football. These are 2 teams where defense is not in their vocabulary, and I was shocked when I saw this line at minus 135. Braunschweig have scored 6 over their 6 games while conceding 16. Ulm's not much better here. I absolutely love this play, and if it was minus 185, I was prepared to give it out then and explain that sometimes we just have to take the juice here, but minus 135 in the second Bundesliga should not exist. For our second play, much easier to pronounce here, hopefully, Sia, I'm going for the LeBron James of football, soccer. I'm going for Captain America himself. I'm going for Christian Pulisic in the matchup between AC Milan and US Lecce. Pulisic 2 score or assist at -125 is frankly disrespectful. And I say that being someone who very actively dislikes American soccer players. Christian Pulisic just fits in this Serie A style of play. When he was at Chelsea, he was being misused. He wasn't playing correctly. He was just not having a good time. But since joining AC Milan, he looks like he's an all-star player. He looks like he might be better than Rafael Leao. He looks like he might be better than Olivier Giroud. This is a guy that, for whatever reason, is just clicking inside Serie A. He can score, he can assist, he is a goal scorer, and he is a playmaker. And for him to do either at -125, crazy, considering they're coming off a derby win.
Yeah, when we get to the recap screen buckets, I'm literally going to say, and buckets, and you're going to fill in, and you're actually going to say on the recap screen what your picks are, because that first one might have been the most difficult one you've ever put out there, and I'm not super happy about it.
If it wasn't a German name, I wouldn't have gotten it right, but I kind of got a little thing going for these German clubs, so it helps. I got your back, Sia.
Thank you very much. All right. If you want to make those bets or any of the bets you heard or are about to hear, or bets in the chat, I see you, Chris Kish, with some golf bets, and Brad bets, and all of you new BetMGM customers, you can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 and you will receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. All right, we got to get to some Danny Brasco pick. It's fight night. It's shadow boxing time. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. Danny, before we get to you, Mr. Big jumps in here. He says, good morning, team, with a couple of exclamation points. Love that positivity. Big Cheesy, Jose Ramirez, Friday, over 1.5 total bases at +115. Aaron Bailey offers us a good morning. All right, Danny Brasco, offer us a good night. What are the fight night picks?
Bonjour, mon ami. We're headed to UFC Paris for fight night. See, I always love a Paris card. And you saw it came in with the little Zen honor, discipline, instead of the shadow boxing. I got to keep it 100 with you guys. On a 15-3 run in NFL picks on SportsLine right now. But on Early Edge, UFC has been a little bit of a rough go for me. A lot of 1-2 appearances, right? A lot of plus money shots haven't panned out. Not happy with my recent UFC results. So I'm going to go for 2 straight bets here, and both moneyline plays that I feel are worth attacking. Let's cash them, guys. First one, not on a French fighter. His name is Victor Altamirano, not a French name at all. But I like Altamirano because he's cutting his teeth in the UFC, and he's coming off a robbery split decision loss. The guy clearly deserved to win the fight. And I like backing fighters who are coming off a fight they deserve to win. He has that X factor in him, the cardio, the toughness, and the constant activity. His opponent, Daniel Barres, is going to be the more physical, stronger guy in there. He's going to look to take him down, control him, and maybe just throw bombing hooks and hurt him. But Altamirano is tough, man. And I worry about those muscled guys. If they can't grapple you up, they end up draining and getting tired, right? That lactic acid builds up. Altamirano never quits on himself. And I think just the dog in him carries this fight into deeper waters where Altamirano starts to take over with his activity and his volume. So I like him at -115. This line's on the move, guys. I've seen even -130. So I'd grab him now, and I would bet him up to -140. The other bet I'm taking is in a weird fight. Light heavyweight slobber knocker between Ivan Urslan and Jan Kutelaba, 2 names on the prelims that you might not recognize. Kutelaba's been around for a while, but I think he's on the back 9 of his career, guys. He's an exciting fighter. His nickname is the Hulk. He paints himself green at the pre-fight. He's going to go some crazy Hulk energy, but that energy only lasts for about 5 minutes. After a round, Kutelaba starts to fade away. I know he has experience. I know he has sick power and wrestling and ground and pound, but his opponent, Urslan, is coming in from KSW Fight League, which has produced a lot of very interesting kickboxers. I kind of like backing debuting fighters from another league, right? There's a reason the UFC signed the guy. Let's see what potential he's got against the Jan Kutelaba, who, what's his commodity really in the light heavyweight division? I think Urslan can show out. He's been training at American Top Team, so hopefully his wrestling is polished up. If this goes into deeper waters, I think he's got more ways to win the fight. Even money, his line is on the move as well, so get him here around even money. That's worth a bet for me. There's 2 good picks for you for UFC Fight Night Paris.
I got to say, there's some people in the chat, Danny, that aren't fond of your picks. They're saying, oh, I like the other side. And frankly, I'm not educated enough to have an opinion on this. But if you don't mind, and you'll probably want to respond to those later as we travel to college football and Mike McClure. But if you don't mind, can you tell me what your NFL record is as of late? What did you say it was?
Or 15-3 in the last 18 SportsLine picks on the site, and obviously that I brought to the show. I am not superstitious, but I am a little stitious, as Michael Scott once said. So I didn't want to say it out loud, but I got to bring some better juju for the UFC. Hey, if they disagree with me, I get it. See, I've lost some showdowns to guys in the chats. Buckets has got me a number of times. There's the smirk from my guy Buckets. So, hey, I mean, it's people, smart people in the chat here. I got to give them their credit too.
Well, listen, there's a lot of hot people in the NFL that are members of SportsLine. So I do want to remind everybody, if you want to join SportsLine, you go to sportsline.com/join. And if you type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. This does not just include picks, although it does include all of the experts' picks, but also simulations, some of the stuff that Mike McClure's model puts out, articles, which might have WNBA picks and NASCAR and things of that nature. So we cover every sport. We've got all our expert picks on there. Right when we make them, you get them. So again, sportsline.com/join, type in the promo code winners, and you get 60% off the annual plan. All right, let's move to Mike McClure. By the way, shout out to Brad Betts, who recommended a live bet. And then 5 seconds later, one of the things he said was going to happen actually happened. So always dial in to some of the guys in the chat. Mike McClure, we've got a first quarter bet. You are kind of the king of that. What's the play in Alabama, Georgia?
I love this game, Alabama, Georgia. It's the game of the year in college football, essentially a playoff game. Look, I like the Bama side here, and there are arguments on both sides, especially if you're talking full game, that are legit. You're going to hear, how often do you get Bama as a home underdog? Essentially never. How often do you get Georgia under a field goal? Essentially never. So it's going to be a really fun matchup. They've had extended time to prepare, but I think Alabama gets the edge in the first quarter here. I played it at even money, would still play it here at -105 today. I think the numbers should be -123, -125, essentially 55%. So a little bit of an edge here in this one. And the reason for it is this Georgia team has notoriously started slow in early season games. And it's really not just this season. It's dating back the last 4 years. Where Kirby Smart has been excellent is making in-game adjustments and coming out of the locker room at halftime. I like Bama here early. This is where the home field advantage is typically most pronounced, especially in a primetime night game like this. It's going to be early first quarter. That's where you have the miscommunication. That's where you have some of those false start penalties. I personally think that Georgia will struggle early and maybe turn it on late here. I think that they're really going to miss Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and I definitely do not think their running game is the 1-2 punch that it has been in years past. So I like Bama in this one early. I think Jalen Milroe does enough with his legs, gets this team in scoring position, may only take a field goal here. Again, we've seen Georgia start extremely slow and extremely conservatively early in football games because frankly, you can't win it in the first quarter, but you can definitely lose it when you're playing on the road. So I expect that conservative game plan from Kirby Smart early. Give me Bama here on the money line in the first quarter.
All right, we're going to take, there's so many opinions on this Alabama-Georgia game. We heard one from Tom Casale earlier in the week. And Chip Patterson, you got a couple of picks coming up after I give out a pick that concern this Georgia-Alabama game. Big Cheesy, he's concerned about the like button. He says, hammer the like before you hammer your bets. Really good advice. I'm looking at the ratio. It's actually not bad. We've got almost 450 watching, over 100 likes. 4.5 to 1 is not a terrible ratio historically, but maybe we could get close to like 2 to 1 one day or 3 to 1. Really appreciate it. It does help the show. It does help me and everybody on the show. So please hit the like button if you could every time you get in here. Okay, speaking of in here, Sniper's not here. So we don't have a baseball pick. And the last thing you want is me to come in on a non-AMAGs or a non-Mike McClure baseball day or a non-Sniper baseball day. However, I'm giving you a baseball pick because I'm going right back to the first 5. Actually really like this spot. Two teams that have nothing to play for, the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals, both of which are playing pretty well. St. Louis lost 10-8 to Colorado yesterday. Now they have to travel to St. Louis, no days off. San Francisco coming off a day off. And by the way, San Francisco playing really good baseball lately, and the bats have kind of come alive too little too late for them, but they got Landon Roop on the mound, and I really like Landon Roop. I like how he's been pitching this entire season. Love everything I'm seeing from him, and he battles Miles Michaelis. This is a mail-it-in spot for the bats for the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's a great spot to take advantage of Miles Michaelis, who's been average lately, but below average on the season. Really like the pitching matchup. You got to pay a lot of juice here, but I'm going back to my first five. Give me the San Francisco Giants, first five money line, -143. This is going anywhere between like -130 to -145. I wouldn't pay any more juice beyond the -145, but you should be able to get it short of -145. Buckets. Go ahead.
See, real quick, heads or tails?
Tails.
Yeah, I'll call you on a showdown on that if you're up for it.
I knew it. I knew it.
You
I'm
down?
actually, what's so funny, Buckets, is I'm just moderately afraid of you because of the magic act that you've pulled off with the almanac and the interception props.
And the
With
White
that-
Sox. And the White Sox, who he almost got Sniper on again. I mean, it took some late heroics for the last one, but I was watching that one, Buckets.
I'm pretty sure all of their wins were when Buckets was challenging somebody on a White Sox winner. With all that said, Jake, if you don't mind, play the music.
It's gonna be a showdown.
Wow. I did not expect that. All right. Cash coming my way. Chip Patterson. Cash hopefully coming everybody's way on a Friday night with that Miami play. But like we like to do on this show, we give you Saturday plays as well. So you finally have the floor, my friend.
I had a big stupid grin on my face. You know, you came out from M Squared giving you the goods, and my face was just shining because here's what happens from time to time, all right? So sometimes Mike and I, we spend a lot of time talking about college football. We can see the same thing and have different picks. And look, I'm a spray the board guy. Maybe you like to wrap them all up in a parlay because when he was talking about his Alabama play, which I like and is part of my 3 picks on this game on the Cover 3 podcast. That's right. 1, 2, 3 picks on this game. My best bet that I'm offering for you here has to do with that slow start because Georgia first half unders have been an ATM. It is Kirby Smart, who's a little bit of a conservative coach to start. He knows he's got that good defense. He's more than happy to punt from plus territory, more than happy to kick field goals instead of going for it. And so what that leads to is a game that sort of slow start, then gets a little loose after halftime. We just danced it to the window in week 1 in the Clemson game. We danced it to the window in the Kentucky game. And now we're going to be back in it again. I like Mike's Alabama first quarter. And then I love this Georgia-Alabama first half under 24.5. If you want to know my third play on that game, whatever, go listen to it because the podcast is awesome. But I'll tell you, Georgia team total over is another thing that I'm eyeing because I do think after halftime, they're going to take advantage of an Alabama secondary that in terms of personnel can be had. But the problem is the opponents that they have played have not had dynamic downfield passing attacks. They've either been not good, not accurate, or the starting quarterback got knocked out with a season-ending knee injury in the first quarter. So, other for Saturday, we're going to be at noon Eastern time. 2 teams that need to get up off the mat big time. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. I'll tell y'all, I like this play so much. I liked it under the key number that we have danced over. You get better value here than I got earlier in the week, but I do not trust Oklahoma State's offense at all. That is a fundamentally broken unit. They brought back wide receivers. They brought back 1 million combined starts on the offensive line. They've got a 7th-year quarterback, and they've got supposedly one of the best running backs in the country. The running game is only averaging 3.5 yards per carry. The offensive line can't get any kind of block. And I think that Kansas State, off the embarrassment that we had in Provo over the weekend, playing at home is going to want to make a statement. I don't see the Cowboys, which, by the way, only had 3 points until there were 6 minutes left on the clock in a game that was out of hand. I mean, you might go back to that Utah game and call those late scores for Oklahoma State garbage time, depending on your definition. I think that the Oklahoma State offense continues to struggle. Kansas State bounces back, and we go under the total.
All right. Mr. Big says, darn, I missed the Chip Me Up. Well, good news. You can go back and watch it after this show. We got about 500 people watching. So thanks, everybody, for checking in on the show and participating in the chat. But I do want to ask you, Chip, a very important question. And I'm not even being sarcastic here because normally I'm just like trying to tee people up and have them promote themselves. But Mark Buchholz asks, Chip, when is your Cover 3 podcast? We got to know because some people hear you talk about it, hear maybe me talk about it or reference it, but some people don't know when it's on.
Yeah, and the good news is you can watch Early Edge and Cover 3 because we are Monday, Wednesday, Thursday live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Saturday night after the games are over, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And buddy, like throw us on that screen with your late night football action. We get a lot of people who send us shots of that. We go for about an hour and a half breaking down all the games action. So yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday live on YouTube, Tuesdays on CBS Sports Network, and Saturdays live at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. YouTube.com/cover3.
And of course, in your podcast feeds as well.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Can I just say, and I've mentioned this once before, it was 2 weeks ago, Chip. I stumbled into your Saturday night show with the gentleman that you do that show with, and I couldn't believe, I've told you this, there's so many thousands of people watching that, and it's because it's such a good product. And I like that you corrected yourself because you said after the games are over. Well, not really, right? Because there's usually a few games on the West Coast that are still going. So you can be watching those games, and maybe if you're me, live betting some of those games while watching the Cover 3 live show, talking about everything that happened on Saturday. It is a really good find if you haven't already found it. I really highly suggest, if you're up that late and you're watching college football, to be dialed in also to the Cover 3 podcast, or live stream, I should say.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, Danny, go ahead.
See, I wanted to cover the main event really quickly. Just brief thoughts on UFC Paris. That's really the big ticket event. It's Renato Money Moicano against Benoit Saint-Denis, the god of war. Saint-Denis is known for his insane toughness. I see a lot of people talking about that fight in the chat. Former French special forces fighter. I could say the words counterterrorism. And he literally fights like that. You could see the savageness and just no fear in his fight style. Moicano's going to be a very popular underdog. He keeps cashing as a dog, but I agree with my guy Gippers and Bitsy in the chat. I think he runs into too tough of a test. And Saint-Denis, be careful, Moicano bettors. I think the plus 230 is a little bit trappy. This is where the hype train dies out, I think.
All right. And shout out to M2. Shout out to Mike McClure. Suki MMA talking about Mike's heater as well. I'm touting myself and Danny and whatnot, but this SportsLine team, there's always streaks, always some good and bad, but it's been a nice little run from some of us recently. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here. Buckets, you know you're helping me with this. I've got a baseball play. I'm going right back to the first five. San Francisco Giants first five, money line minus 143. This game is the last game of the night, I believe, around 10 o'clock. Mike McClure tomorrow, Alabama first quarter money line minus 105. And Buckets.
Spiel und Sportverein Ulm versus Eintracht Braunschweig. Both teams to score. And do you need me to do the second one too, Sia?
Yes.
All right. Christian to score or assist minus 125.
Christian who, Buckets?
Oh, Pulisic. Sorry.
There we go. Thank you very much, by the way. Danny Brasco, Victor Altamirano, money line minus 115, and Ivan Urslan, money line plus 100. Chip Patterson, tonight, we've got Friday Night Lights, Miami, the Canes. Team, they're back, by the way. Team total over 35.5 at minus 115. Then a couple of Saturday plays from Chip Patterson. A lot of them, actually, but on this show, they include Georgia, Alabama, first half under 24.5 at minus 118. Oklahoma State, Kansas State under 57.5 at minus 115. Again, if you want all the picks, where do you go? You go to SportsLine. You go to sportsline.com/join. And I told you type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. We've got it flashed up here on YouTube one last time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a great Friday show. We went a little bit longer than we normally do, but we had a lot to get from you all in the chat and a lot to get from all the experts, who include, of course, Mike McClure, Danny Brasco, Chip Patterson, Buckets, and then, of course, we've got Jake the Snake on the ones and twos every single day, working hard to make sure this show is awesome for you every day. Loved the recap screen that we saw to this morning for the Thursday slate. Hopefully we have a similar one next time we see a recap screen. Let's have a great Friday. Let's have a great weekend. I'm the Counselor of Cash. This is the Early Edge. We rest our case.